check out the interview there. I just added it right now. It's called Spring Spirit Nation. So feel free to go and check it out. So we can start whenever you're ready.
We're live. This is Sequin Achak from Spring Spirit Nation coming to you live tonight. This is my first live show, and tonight we have Jarrid Lee. Jarrid,
yes,
how are you doing?
Good, thank you. I'm all excited. First podcast, I guess, if you want to call it that, and first time going live with somebody doing a podcast. So we're making history, if you want to call it.
Yeah, pretty much. Actually, you're like fourth podcast, but first podcast live.
First podcast live.
First podcast live for Spring Spirit Nation. So tell us a little bit about Jarrid Lee. Who is Jarrid Lee? Tell us. Like, it sounds so exciting.
Jarrid Lee is my stage name. So
okay.
My real name is Jarrid Curtis Lee Putra, but nobody could say my last name, and I've had this problem my whole life where if somebody introduces me, whether it's on stage or at a talent show or for hockey, my last name is Putra, but that's a tough last name to say. It's French. It comes from France originally. So the further east you go, it actually it's like Potra, right? Like you get the French rolls in there, and then Ontario, Manitoba, they say Poitras. Even in BC, when I played hockey there, they say Poitras as well. But Alberta, where I come from, we just say it's Putra. So just to make it easier on myself and for people that want to find out who I am, and if they want to ever announce my name, it's just Jarrid Lee. Lee being a middle name. I have two middle names. One was Curtis. One of my sisters had a crush on a guy named Curtis from her homeroom, in grade school. So I was named after some kid Curtis my sister had a crush on. So don't get mad at me, sisters, for that. And then the second name Lee would be after my auntie Leona Makokis, Dr. Leona Makokis. So that's where my basically my name comes from, and Jarrid Lee is my stage name. So it's easy to pronounce.
Okay, really quickly, like just reading off your website, Jarrid, just checking this out. You had your first electric guitar at the age of 12, given to you by your dad.
Yeah, correct.
Rolly.
Roly,
tell us about that.
Which part, my dad or the guitar? Because I could talk. My dad's a music player too. He's a musician. He was playing since the age of 12. Him and his brothers had a band, and my dad had a band back in the late 80s, early 90s called County Express. And County Express, they toured a lot of Alberta, northeast, around Edmonton, Cold Lake, Bonnyville, that area. They played a lot of Bolaramas, beer fests. I grew up going to those as a little kid, 3 years old. It would be unheard of for little kids to be around people that are drinking, but for me it was normal because I was always backstage, right? So that's where my into music came from. So my dad, he actually played at Craven Country Thunder, but they changed the name. Back in the day it was called Big Valley Jamboree.
Big Valley Jamboree, I remember that.
And there's still one like that in Alberta by Camrose. So it's the same event organizers, and they played right after Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and they played in the beer gardens. So when I told my dad, I was like, "Hey, Dad, I played the main stage of Craven," and he goes, "So I played there too." So I called my Uncle Tony, and I said, "Uncle Tony, is it true that you guys played Craven?" He's like, "Oh yeah, we played like in 1988, right after Nitty Gritty Dirt Band, and everybody came to the beer gardens to see us, and nobody knew who we were, but we tried to make a big name for ourselves, and to follow and act like Nitty Gritty, that's huge, right?"
That is really huge. I can't remember the year I went. I remember it rained, and Eddie Rabbit closed the show, and he closed with "I Love a Rainy Night," so that was pretty epic.
Perfect song. We'll talk more about time and perfect songs later, but the guitar, it was a gold Vantage, was a brand name, and he picked it up in Laurie's TV. And what I did was I went across to Sunshine Video, and I picked up my first CD. And the first CD I wanted to learn how to play was Metallica
Loaded.
So I went and grabbed that CD, and then I grabbed the tablature book at Laurie's TV. And I'll give a whole bunch of huge credit to my cousin Miles Dion for teaching me how to read tab, because if he didn't teach me how to read tab, I wouldn't learn how to play the electric guitar. So most people, when they learn guitar, it's normally acoustic first and chords, and I didn't know what a chord was. So I learned
Right.
how to play lead first, and then I learned chord structure after, so I kind of went backwards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that guitar, was very significant for me, and I learned how to play, electric and lead first before I picked up the acoustic, and I picked up the acoustic probably at about 14, 15, and started strumming around and playing different chords. And then in high school, I had a kind of like a rock band. I know a lot of people, when they go through high school, they listen to the Metallica, AC/DC, and
AC/DC, Guns N' Roses.
so I mean, there's a lot of songs that every guitar player wants to learn, and that was kind
Right.
of the phase I went through. So although I grew up listening to country music kind of in high school and junior high wasn't my forte.
Hmm.
If I did a talent show, I would sing an Eddie Rabbit song, for
Yeah.
example, Driving My Life Away, and
Yeah.
three easy chords, and I play that song. And you know um, learning the guitar for me was easy, because I wanted to learn. Like, I would get up probably 2 hours before school, and from 6 till 8 play. Come home during lunch hour and play for half an hour. Then right after school I'd play, and then I'd go to like my hockey practice and do my homework, and then play for another 2 hours, till like 11 o'clock, until I was told to shut her down, basically by mom and dad, right?
Right, right. So according to your bio, it says that you are from St. Paul, Alberta. Did you live right in St. Paul, or was there
I
uh
lived in Paul, yeah, right on
oh yeah.
have, and my mom still has a house there, and my dad still lives there too. So I grew up right in town. I was one of those town natives, you know what I mean? Um,
Okay.
an
Yeah.
apple a lot, like I was red on the outside and white on the inside, which is kind of an insult. So I basically got picked on from both. Like, being native, I got
Hmm.
picked on from the non-native kids in my town, and then
Yeah.
being native from town, I got picked on from the native kids who were from reserves, because I
Right.
I didn't fit in. But it was my grandpa that told me that I had the ability to walk in both worlds at the same time. The ability
Interesting.
to have culture and to have education and to be not native and non-native, because it's in me. Like, I'm not
Right.
100% full blood Cree, because I have a mixture of the French, Irish, and Scottish in my blood. So I
Hmm.
can't deny either side of who I am as a person. You
Right.
know. So that was a tough thing. It was tough to grow up in a town like that, but I mean, I love it. I
Hmm.
was, you know, the only native kid on the hockey team for a few years, and that was tough. So I mean, there were times when I'd have to defend myself, but for the most part, it was making friends, making lifelong friends, having to prove a lot of people wrong. Like, you have to try twice as hard if you're native to get ahead, to get on the team. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
was the smallest kid on the team. I was only 5'3" till I was like 14, and then I had a huge growth spurt, and then um, I was able to defend myself better, if you want to call it, because I grew 6 inches over the course of a summer. So I felt huge at that point, going from 5'3" to like 5'9". I
Yeah.
felt big.
So June is National Indigenous History Month.
Yeah,
Um,
I
which
thought we only got
indigenous,
a day. We have a
pardon
whole
me?
month.
Oh,
We
we got a month. We actually, if we wanted, we can have the year, but
Yeah,
let's ease into this slowly. We had a day.
yeah.
We have a month now.
Moving on up.
Yeah, moving on up. So June is National Indigenous History Month. So which Indigenous icon do you admire and why?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm I'm gonna have to go back and think about um, an icon. I would say, when Blue Quills, it was an old residential school, got started back in like 19, I don't know, 20, 29, 21, something like that. 1931 it got started.
Hmm.
Um, Stanley Red Crow and my grandparents, Alice McCocus and Vernon McCocus, they wanted to take their child's educations into their own hand. As an Indigenous people, we want to learn about our culture, but at the same time, we want to learn about non-Indigenous education at the same time. So what they did was they actually did a sit-in, and they took over the school, and they had meetings with John Chrétien, who was the Minister of Indian Affairs at the time, who would later turn out to be our Prime Minister. So my Cookam Alice got to meet him. I would say that one icon, it would probably be my Cookam Alice. What she did was inspiring. It was hard to do. To take over a residential school would be like to take over a system designed for us to fail. It was such a negative ripple effect, and she, along with the other elders from various communities, relying on our culture and having to be strong in our own culture, and they did pipe ceremonies, they prayed upon it. They took that school over, and they basically said, we're going to take the education system and teach our own kids. Now, that was one of the first native ran schools in all of Canada. Now, how huge is that? That's a huge victory.
That is.
What was back in the day, late 70s, early 80s, there was a high school, and there was too many high schools in the area. So what they did is they said, well, okay, well, if we can't have a high school here, let's turn it into a college. So that's exactly what they did, is they turned this residential school into one of the first native ran colleges in all of Canada. And I'm happy to say that that's kind of where my family stems from, is from my grandma, and that would be the one icon that I would definitely honor and be proud of. Yeah,
that's incredible. Like, isn't that just amazing to be able to say my Cookam Alice? Like, it sort of puts a stamp in time. Like, I'm here today, and this is who I am, and I am because of my Cookam Alice and many other people around that time and before. That's just because I know I've done a lot of traveling in this world, and it seems like out there they want to know who we are. Actually, the world loves us. The world loves us. Like, when you go to another country, they just love you, and they want to know all about you, but all the information that they have access to is just, times of the teepees and things like that. But yeah, this is us today, and this is who we are. And I have a Cookam Alice. And guess what? I had a Cookam Alice too.
So that our stories have been I'm going to call it Hollywoodized or something. Like, people think of Indians, like, forgive me for using that word, it's the improper word. I think we should call ourselves by our own language, which would be in Cree, Ainuak or Nehiawak. That's in our own language, because if it's an English word like Indian, that doesn't fit. We're not Indian, we're not Indigenous, we're not Caucasianly impaired, we're not Cree, because Cree is a French word, it's an English French word. We're neither of those things. We have to self-identify using our own language first, and that's where our power comes from, is within our own language. That's just my own thought, and I could be politically incorrect about that, but I think we should.
That's a lot of it's the new wavelength. In fact, a lot of people are correcting, like, where one would have put Indian to Cree, and then now it's formerly known as Cree. Kind of sounds like Prince every time I hear that, formerly known as Prince. But yeah, formerly known as Cree.
We'll be formally known as Indians, because even East Indians, they're like, no, Columbus was looking for us, and he found you guys, and he thought you guys were Indians. So that's where that story comes from.
Yes. So, being Indigenous, maybe I should change the banner to being Nehio in the music industry.
Yeah, because Indigenous, that's another English word. Being Nehio or Ainuak or Ainu in the music industry, it's challenging. It's challenging just to be Indigenous in today's world, because there's so many things that are set up against you. It seems like we have to try, like I said, twice as hard just to get the same results as somebody that's that benefits from the system, somebody that's non-Indigenous or not a minority or not LGBTQ2S. So these systems, they're old colonial systems that we need to basically revisit and revise and maybe take a look at. So that's something,
Right.
even the school system, how long did the residential schools go on until they figured it out? They had it wrong. They had it wrong since day one. They were trying to kill the Indian in the man when it should have been us educating them,
Right. Right.
on compassion and respect and all the teachings that we have in our culture. Now they're starting to come forward. Now it's no better time to be an Indigenous person than right now, especially in the music industry, because we have a voice. Now that we
There
have a
you go.
platform, we have a voice, and we have, you know, followers, and people are listening. Not only that, but we have technology. I could send a song to
So
Europe, and
now we
people
could do
be
that.
like, "Oh my God, he's a country artist." But not only is he a country artist, he's Nahio. He's
Nahio.
Indigenous. He's Native. He's Caucasian impaired. He's Indian. He's Aboriginal. Whatever you want to call me. We were here first. I and you, Nahio.
Do
So
you? I have an interesting question here for you, Jarrid. Being Nahio and of course being in the country music industry, do you
mm,
think that it gave you like a unique flavor with your style?
of course,
Yeah. Tell us
of course,
about that.
it's in my writing style. It's in my lifestyle. How I grew up. I could tell you, my most heartfelt song to date, and my biggest award-winning song is called "Small Town." So I
Hmm.
take the experiences from how I grew up, and I use that, like that flavor of, being an Indigenous in a small town. When people listen to that song, they can relate. But do they know that I'm Native when I sing the song? They don't. They can relate, but that's the thing, is like, if you don't judge a book by its cover,
Hmm.
then you can't really relate to it. So when you're talking about flavor, yeah, I put it in everything I do, and I just go based on my own experiences, and I use my writing style, um, just like any other song. There's a verse and a chorus and a verse and a chorus and a bridge and then the end chorus. That's the easiest part, but the hardest part would be to, how do I make it so that it's neutral? Right now, learning how to
Hmm.
write songs that are gender neutral, that are sexually neutral. So when I
Hmm.
say, babe or love or sweetheart, that song could be for anybody.
Right.
Now think about that. Too many
That makes
times
a lot of sense.
in country music, if you have a guy song, it's about a girl in a truck in a dirt road. That's
Right. Just
classic country.
like just off the top of my head, I'm thinking of the song Jolene, right?
Yeah,
From Dolly Parton. Oh, beautiful song. Amazing. Like everybody knows Jolene. And I'm not Jolene, so I can't identify it as much as if
yeah,
it were Babe, but I don't know. It's just just something I thought of when
yeah.
you were saying that. But yeah, it does make a lot of sense. It sort of opens up the topic or the fan base, right? Everybody can be Babe.
And that's the thing that I don't want to, um, I want to be inclusive of everybody. I want
Mm,
anybody to sing my songs, and I'm learning how to write songs on a very neutral platform. So when I
mm-hmm.
say the babysitter's on their way, some people don't identify as male or female. So it has to be a gender neutral identification, which would be the term they. So that's
I love it.
proper education that I had to learn, because it
Hmm.
was either he or she, right?
Right.
Until I got proper education from my buddy Jack Saddleback, and he was talking about, the proper pronouns for identifying people, or for people who don't want to identify, which is
Right.
totally fine. And if I was able to write a song that people can relate to, anybody can relate to that song. It's just casting a wider net. And that's something that's in our culture too, is we have two spirit people.
Yeah.
We've always known about that, and they are the healers. They're the people of the rainbow. They have both the qualities for the male and the female, the nurturer and the provider.
Right.
So, I take my experiences and I just put them in song.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you for bringing that up. That's a very, very important um, piece to bring up. It comes that makes me think of. I think you were in Winnipeg over the winter or the beginning of the pandemic. Did you do a little bit of
Yeah.
songwriting there too?
Yeah, we did. We went to Elkhorn Resort, and that was put
Hmm.
on by Manitoba Music. And I want to thank, Sask Music for scouting me and referring me to go there. And a couple of my other friends from Saskatoon here, like Forrest Eagle Speaker, another awesome songwriter and great artist, and Marenton Fair. We went to Winnipeg, and we got to meet up with a lot of huge people in the music industry. I'm talking about like David Strickland, guy who worked with Drake. I'm talking like Jace Martin, a Billboard pop artist that was on the charts. Crystal Shawanda, everyone knows she's a powerhouse in country
Oh
now.
yeah.
Youth. So those are the people we got to meet with. But not only that, when we were there, it was spiritual. It was damn near impossible for us as artists to not collaborate. So I've never been to a place where if I start singing a song, somebody finishes it for me. It was freaking amazing. Forgive my language, but if I started singing something like, blame it all on my roots, and then all of a sudden somebody else takes over, showed up in boots, and it just goes around and it just goes around, and then pretty soon it gets back, and you're like, whoa, that's huge. You just have so many artists under the same roof was very empowering. It was very encouraging. It was emotional. I still get emotional thinking about it. But man, we wrote an awesome song, and we basically took Forrest's idea of to start the song off, and we all put our little pieces together. But I'll share that song with you probably at another time. We all sang on this song, and just the collaboration part of it. And we went up to David Strickland's room, and we all laid down the track, and somebody laid down the acoustic and the lead guitar part, and then there was fiddle on there. And we were only there for a week. So I just imagine how much more we can accomplish with another week of time together.
Oh wow.
So that song will be coming out, I don't know, whenever it's done. But it's got all of us. It's got me, Forrest Marenton, Brandon Baker on there. Produced by David Strickland. It's got an awesome fiddle player from the area, Mitchell Mose. Then it's got Kenny from the Paw, Manitoba. It's got just about all of us on there, like people that can play guitar. But that experience basically set me up. It's like I was gonna get launched into outer space. Like I always want to shoot for the stars when I'm setting my goals, and I set them so high that if I make it, I'd be so impressed with myself. Even if I land on the moon, I'd be impressed. So when I went to Manitoba for this 1 week music residency, it was like having a how would I describe it? Like a slingshot, and it gives you all the tools. You're ready, and then you just lean back and you keep pulling, and then boom, you just launch yourself. So that's
Right.
what I'm doing now. Is I'm literally launching myself, and I have such a high belief level in myself now, and I know why I'm doing this. I'm doing this for all of my people. Like you're talking about being Nahio in the music industry, it's difficult in any music industry. But being Nahio in a predominantly non-Indigenous or non-Native country, it's hard. Like it's really hard because I grew up in a town where it was racist. I'll say it. Still to this day, it's like that, and things need to change. So if I went to a beer fest, a whole bunch of cowboys there, and if there was Native people there, we'd be a minority. So a Native person singing country music, I'm a minority already. So
Right.
I'm gonna have to try twice as hard, to get to the top, or even to get, to be a Canadian country music artist, or to be a country music artist in North America, for example. So yeah, it's pretty tough, but I mean, with faith and with culture and just having a high belief level in yourself, and really what keeps me going is my why. My why is the single most biggest factor, hands down, as to why I do what I do. I do it for my people. I do it for myself. I do it to prove people wrong. The naysayers, the people that say it's not going to happen. I love proving people wrong. If somebody says I can't do something, I go and I do it. So that's just me. I've always been like that.
That's awesome. I love it that you have a why, because every day, like I have a why too. Like I have a what really, but like I just ask the question, just to be better than I was yesterday, kinder than I was yesterday. Like just to catapult me into the different things that I do today. So that's pretty cool with your question. Now, when you said Crystal Shawanda, I was like, wow, this guy knows Crystal Shawanda. That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
she's amazing.
amazing.
Yeah. I met. Go ahead.
Leading me up to this, Jarrid. Now, I actually have like 100 questions to ask you, but tell us, how did you get on stage? Like, what's it like to be up on stage with a music star like Tanya Tucker? I know you were up on stage with her at the River Creek Casino.
Yep.
Yeah. Tell us about that. I'm like, I watched it actually. Yeah.
Emotional, really.
Yeah.
I mean, to be in the presence of greatness, to have her, just to be able to open up for her was a dream come true. But I mean, to meet her, she's such a humble person. I mean, we got the invite to go down to Nashville during May long weekend, but that didn't happen because of this COVID thing. But just to be in the presence of greatness is huge. It's very eye opening. It's very reassuring that I'm on the right track. But just to be able to open up for Tanya Tucker, I mean, how do you not cry? You know what I mean? When you've heard her music and you grew up to it, and your family loves her, and then your whole community goes out to support you at this concert, and it was a rush. It was something that I can't put into words. It's just it's emotional. It's very, it fills your heart to the point where you just want to cry. Yeah. Because it's such a dream come true, and all the stars aligned perfectly for that to happen. I mean, when I got a phone call from her manager asking, "Hey, are you available on November 7th?" and I'm like, "Let me check my busy schedule." It's a Thursday. Yeah, I think we can. What's going on? And he goes, "Well, River Creek Casino, they're having her there. Would you like to assist us on this tour?" And I said, "Let me call my guys and I'll get back to you." But I called all the boys and I said, "Yeah, let's go." So we ended up doing that, and we got treated like stars. And I love that. The feeling of, it feels like you make it. It feels like you made it.
Right. Well, especially when they get a call from you, like, how do you think, or what do you think helped you with that? Was it your visibility with your Facebook page, jarridlee.com? Am I correct?
Jarrid Lee, I would say it wasn't so much the cold market, but it was the warm market that really did it for me. For me, I was taught that, through my dad, that a handshake and the word integrity means everything. So what happened was, we were playing a wedding in Edmonton, and it was for a family member of mine, and he was getting married to a lady from Enoch, and she had three of the chiefs out there. Billy Morin, past chief Ron Morin, and then Harry Sharphead was in attendance, and our band did pretty good there. And the guy goes, "Do you have any CDs?" And it just so happened that I had one CD on me, one. And it was just my single, Small Town, the one I won my only Songwriters Award for. And I actually got to open up for Luke Bryan at Craven. We'll talk more about that. But I gave him that CD and I go, if you ever have any openings at River Cree and you want, Chief and Council, that's the name of my band, or myself, to play there, by all means, get a hold of us here. And then it just so happens that, that Tanya Tucker was coming through town and needed an opener, and then it slid across the table to marketing and promotions, and it slid to her manager, and then I got a phone call and she liked what she heard, and then had a few other songs that were out on YouTube at the time. But it just so happened that you don't know where your next gig is going to come from, so you treat everybody with respect, you shake hands, give out a CD. That one was free. The next one he's gonna have to pay for. But that just goes to show that these are like business cards. So when I give out a CD, it's like a business card. It could lead to an opportunity, and it just so happened that that one was Tanya Tucker, and that was a huge, huge, huge honor.
Okay, you mentioned Luke Bryan. Can we go there?
Absolutely, we can.
Okay, tell us about Luke Bryan.
Luke Bryan. There's a radio station contest. It actually happens every year. It's called the CKRM. They do an opening on the Sunday of Craven. So it doesn't matter who's there; they get the afternoon spot. So what I did was I auditioned. I sent in, 3 songs, and then from there they get to select you if you're in the top. I don't know, let's say top 20, something like that, or top 15, and then from there you have to try to get into the top 3. And then from the top 3, if you're in there, then you play the main stage at Craven Country Thunder in front of, it's in the afternoon, so there's not a lot of people, but in attendance, there's over 13,000 easily people there. So what happened was I didn't think I was gonna make it, but they called me and they said, okay, you qualify. Let's come down to Regina, and you have your audition. And there's a room full of us and a lot of great, awesome singers, songwriters, and everybody there is good. Everybody there can sing and everybody can play. So I was like,
Right.
okay, I have to bring my best. So I picked 2 originals and one cover. So the first song I did was, I think it was Small Town, and then I did, Up on Stage, and then I did, can't remember the other song, but they ended up liking, Small Town, and they ended up liking the other one. So I got a Songwriters Award for my song Small Town. So it didn't end there. I was proud to get that Songwriters Award. That was huge. But, they were reading out the names, and, third place, was Taylor Toluchuk, and then second place, winning himself another, award. And I was like, what? Who's him? Another? And I looked and I said, hey, that's me. So I ended up taking second. And then first place was the Emerald Green duo. So us three, the 3 acts that we had, ended up getting, the call back, and we played the main stage at Craven right before Jess Moskaluk, and she opened up, or actually Sammy Kershaw, Aaron Tippin, and Colin Ray. They have their
Oh my gosh.
called
Yes.
Roots and Boots, I think it's called. And then there was Jess Moskaluk, and then after Jess was Midland, and then we were backstage, and it just so happened that Williams and Ree, the native and the white guy, were
I
back.
remember them. Yeah.
And I grew up. My uncle has a conference every year in Alberta called Knowing Our Spirits Conference, and they showed up, a few times at my uncle's conference. So I'd pick them up at the airport and bring them to the conference, and get to know them. And they remembered me. I was backstage, like, hey, we know you. Where's Bernie? Are we at the right place here? Are we at a conference? And I was like, no, you guys are at Craven. They said, what are you doing back here? I said, well, I'm playing. I'm gonna be up on stage here pretty soon. So it just so happens Williams and Ree were there. So that just made me feel like I was in the right place again.
Yeah.
So we were backstage, and then pretty soon we got kicked out of backstage by the time Luke Bryan was coming, and he showed up with his entourage and his sound guys and musicians, and we got kicked out and then boom, like the whole infield was just full of people, just jam packed, 13,000 people. And we went to the front, and there were people like giving me pats on the back for being up there, especially our own cousins,
Yeah.
our own native people, like, man, and we're proud of you, man. You're going places. You're on stage. You're up there. You're doing good. It was a very good feeling to have, our own people acknowledging me for being up there. But when we saw Luke Bryan, he was awesome. I mean, it was such a great feeling. Even if we were just the afternoon show, I was still on the same stage, just a couple of hours earlier than Luke Bryan, and that's like he kind of brought me back into country music with his music, right? So it was an honor to do that too. So that was another dream come true.
I actually grew up in the Treaty 4 area with or at Pipebutt. It's just like you go like 20 minutes down the valley, and that's where I'm at. So yeah, it was a big part. So when you said our cousins, I thought right away, yeah, they are. They're cousins.
Yeah, I got cousins down there too. So
You bet.
I always say that whenever you see another Indigenous person, another Native, another Nahio, hey cousin, it's always And you know what? You'll find out you're related somehow, some way, or they got cousins that are your cousins. Yeah.
Jarrid, can you share with us a song today? Could you tell us about a song that you would share with us, and why you chose that song to play today?
Sure. Yeah, I'd probably give you guys can't keep a good man down. I wrote this song based on the fact that when I first started in my music career and I first started off on this journey, there was a lot of naysayers and a lot of people saying, you know what, just get a job, just go to school, you know. And I was like, no, I'm doing this. Like I'm making the choice to do music. And people can't see, they can't visualize what you can see in the future. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you have to get people to buy in. So I started off like really small, playing around, St. Paul. My first big show was Voices of the North in 2015, so that kind of sparked my love for the big stage. And from there, I started a little circuit back home in the Lakeland, and we had a little band called the Jarrid Lee Band, and we played a few weddings and some bar gigs, and that's kind of where we got our start. But a lot of naysayers. I don't know why, but people are like, "No, you're not going to do it. You're not going to make it anywhere. You're not going to be, you know, you're not going to do good." And I just love proving people wrong. Like I said, right? So the song I'm going to share with you is, "Can't Keep a Good Man Down." It's also a little. I wrote this about 4 years ago, and this was before I knew I was going to go to Nashville. So there's a little part in there where it talks about getting the call. It
Yeah.
all started with just one call that would change it all. Now I'm on a plane and I'm Nashville bound. That's huge. Like I'm still gonna go there. I haven't been there yet, but they're calling. I definitely
Cool.
go Music Row and just go check out Nashville because I feel that's where I'm gonna end up. I know I'm gonna end up there. So this
Before
song,
you can get set up, Jared, this is so cool. Like for listeners, viewers out there today, this is Spring Spirit Nation. My name is Sikwanachak, and we've got Jarrid Lee Patra, and he's going to sing a song. And at the beginning of this show, I'd mentioned that this is my very first live. This is my fourth podcast that I'm creating. So it'll be edited for Spotify if you are on Spotify. And as this is my first show, I had no idea that I could chat with viewers at the same time. So I'd just like to say, give a few shout outs there to Glenna Henderson. If you want to follow Indigenous empowers women with IOPS, Glenna is the host there, host. And then a big hello to Marge Rook. Glad you guys are watching. And if you have any questions for Jared, just post them here. All right, Jared, you
so
got
where
the
do
stage.
I
You got
question?
my stage.
All right. Thank you very much, Sequin. I really appreciate being on your podcast. I mean, this is awesome with technology. All the things we can do. You know what I mean? So, going back to the story of this song, you can't keep a good man down. You're gonna hear the story. Hopefully, you guys like it. This is gonna be on the full album that's coming out later on this year or the next year. It'll be out in the future, anyways. But this song's called "Can't Keep a Good Man Down." Damn, it seems I can't catch a break. Always behind and sometimes late. When will this life just turn around? God help me for mercy's sake to get on track and never late. You just can't keep a good man down. Sit on my prayers at night. I'm grateful for that morning light. I gotta get me out this one horse town. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I laugh and tell them maybe you all should just settle down. They tell me I'm a fool who should have stayed in school. They're trying to keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down. I never knew my life would change from cloudy skies to sunny days. Now I'm glad to have been friends. It all started with just one call that would change it all. Now I'm on a plane and I'm Nashville bound. Everybody thinks I'm crazy. I'd like to tell them maybe you all should just settle down. They tell me I'm a fool who should have stayed in school. They're trying to keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down. Nobody thinks I'm crazy. I laugh and tell them maybe you all should just stick around. You can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down. You can't keep a good man down. No, no. No. Woo.
Hey, that was awesome. I loved it. That was really cool.
Thanks.
So I just want to say hello to Kim Gray Eyes and Lenora Laszlo. Thank you for watching. Jarrid, I don't know, like I watch movies where there are music bands that go out, right? And they get really famous, and then all of a sudden they sort of want to, I'm just not going to go there. I guess what I'm trying to say is, can you give a shout out to your bandmates?
Absolutely. Which
Yeah.
ones?
All of them, just name
All of
them, just like whoever is on Chief and Council. I have it on the page right now,
For sure.
your website, and if they want to book your band, that's weird, your band, Chief and Council.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
love it.
it's
Yeah,
part, it's
who are
part of
your
my
bandmates?
band. It depends, but mostly here in Saskatchewan, you know, I got Rob Turner on drums. I also have Jonas Ranville on drums. He's tied into the Seaweed Band, the very well-known Seaweed Band. Rocking Ron Bradfield on bass. I also got word that my dad might be retiring soon, so he wants to play with his son now. That's huge. If me and my dad could play, so he'd be playing bass with me. I also have my buddy Terry Hawkness, who fills in once in a while. Reggie Whitecalf from Lloydminster, also from Sweetgrass originally. Donnie Anaquad, that's who played with us at Tanya Tucker. Alex Custerrock on fiddle. He's a Grand National champion. Myself, I also have, a couple other guys that I do play with. My original band back in Alberta was, Sean Sparkling Eyes, Elmer Whitford, and Sheldon Cardinal. Those were my boys. And also we had a guy that showed up to all of our shows, and he would just show up just to just to watch us play. And Charles Cardinal, a great guy from back home, Saddle Lake, bass player. He would play with us, whenever we need somebody. So those are pretty well, the band, Chief and Council. It's just like regular council. The council members change up every 4 years. So
In some places too.
so sometimes, guys aren't able to make a show for whatever reasons, and it is what it is. But I mean, for the most part, that's our group of guys, and I'm glad there's a lot of people that are willing to help me out, and even my buddy, Colin PT Toos, he's helped out, and Corny Michelle, boys from Duck Lake, Colton Mike as well has helped out. So I mean, it depends on where we play and who's available. And sometimes there'll be times when we just put together a band and we call it Chief and Council. As long as the chief stays the same, me, then the council members can follow suit. So this goes to show it's like regular politics, right?
Right. So there you have it, folks. Chief Putra, No, I'm
Chief,
just kidding.
Chief Jarrid Lee. Oh, yeah. Has a little.
Chief Jarrid Lee. I actually went to residential school in the South, and there were Petras there, so I was able to pronounce Petra. But then I heard the Poitras
Yeah,
pronunciation as well, so I wasn't sure which one you were.
Poitras,
But
Poitras, Patra, Patra. That's fine too. Even Padra, Poitra. Yeah, it's just the last name.
yeah,
It's what it
Jarrid
is.
Lee.
Yeah,
Jarrid, spelled Jarrid.
correct. Yeah.
Right. JarridLee.com if you want to book chief and counsel in the future. Have you heard or do you know? Like, I know there are a lot of country or music people in the industry or just in the entertainment industry because of COVID that got shows canceled, for
Yeah.
obvious reasons, right? When can we expect to have them rebooked again? Like, is there talk or like, what are people doing as an alternative,
We're
in
doing
this time?
we're doing a lot of online concerts, and people are tipping us, but at the same time, a lot of us lost a lot of income based on the live shows. So what we're doing is we're finding ways. Like if you look at somebody like Brett Kissel got asked by Safeway to do a show for the food bank. So how is he going to make that happen? So what they did was they planned the show at River Cree, and it was like a drive-in theater where you go and watch a movie. But now you get to drive in and watch a concert from the safety of your own vehicle. So there's like no drinking and no food, but I mean, you could still honk your horn as many times as you want. You could probably still listen to it on the radio if they broadcast it through a radio station, if not. But we're looking at ways on how we can do business in a new way, because this has never happened before, right? Like for us to not engage with our fans, it sucks. It's when I do a live concert, and if I'm done my song, I'm waiting for the audience to clap something, but they're just dead air. It was really weird, but at the same time, you kind of have to get over that. And so there are ways that we are finding we can do business in a new way. Which one way would be drive-in concerts. They're coming. They're already here. A lot of online concerts. I'm learning how to do like music videos right now. So I mean, I want to get more of a fan base, and especially YouTube. So there's ways we can, and not only that, but we can create videos now with technology where if I wanted to play with just my acoustic, and I send that video to the drummer, and then he sends it to the lead guitar player, and to the bass player, and to our steel guitar player or whatever, we can all play on the same track together and put a video together. So there's mashups now.
Right.
So there are ways. Not only that, but we can continue to record music, and we can continue to submit it to radio. And if you guys like what you hear, I have a new album out. It's called Up on Stage. The EP just dropped on June 10th. So if you like what you hear, request that to any Canadian country radio station or your local radio station. It's on the 680 different stations right across Canada. I'm trying to get it onto Sirius satellite radio, and also a little bit into the States and Australia and Europe. But for the most part, we're doing things in a new way. It's just being able to adapt and overcome.
Right. That's awesome. So there you have it, folks. Up on Stage. It was released June 10th. 7 days ago. Sort of lost in my days. 7 days ago. Request it on your radio stations. Is this available on Spotify as well?
It's available on all digital platforms.
All platforms. There you go.
All right.
So,
iTunes, Google Play.
On Spotify, you can look for Spring Spirit Nation, and you can look for Jarrid Lee.
There you go.
Up on Stage. Absolutely. Let me see. Jarrid, before I let you go, I want to ask you about your logo.
Yes.
It's really cool. Who designed it? 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Okay. I found it on Pinterest and basically redesigned it, but it was supposed to be a happy face with a J and an L on a globe.
Right.
But I couldn't figure out a way to get it so that it's 3D. So I just got it flat, and then I just put my name on the bottom, and it's supposed to be a happy face on a globe. There.
Okay, another one. Tell us about what you're doing on June 21st.
June 21st. Actually, there's a pre-recording on June 20th of National Indigenous Day. It would be on Sask Music's web page on Facebook and also on their YouTube page. So if you guys get a chance, check out Sask Music. There's all the top Indigenous artists, right from Mr. Donnie Prano himself, right all the way down to a little guy like me. So, Sask Music, it'll be on that day, June 20th.
Okay, and how can we find it again? Can you repeat that?
Sask Music.
Sask Music, got it. Okay, and if I were to look up Sask Music and this were aired online, can I share it on my Spring Spirit Nation page?
Absolutely. What I'm going to do is I'm going to get that link for you and I'll share it. And I'll share their actual webpage too. And I'll share the YouTube page. I know right now they have all of our videos. So they're trying to, edit and whatever. And it's going to be hosted by Prince Albert's LJ Tyson and another guy. I forget the name. So we're moving up. It's slow.
LJ Tyson. I hear a lot of LJ. I wouldn't mind to get him on my show.
Yeah. Oh, hey LJ, if you're listening, get on.
LJ, I want you on my show. Thank you, Jarrid. This has been so fun this evening. And yeah, do you have any words to leave us with? Any words of encouragement for upcoming musicians?
Yeah, one word comes to mind, and it's basically a word that describes anything you want to do in your life. It's to keep going. My cousin Dr. James Makokis, who won the Amazing Race, they had this hashtag. I know, Team
My heart.
Team
Yeah, I love it. Yeah.
So honestly,
he's my dream guest.
I'll get him on for you. So keep going, Agamemuk. That's the word for the day. Keep going, Agamemuk. That's all I can say is just keep going, because you're gonna have trials and tribulations. There's gonna be days when you're so mad at the world and things aren't going your way and nothing's you know what I mean? It seems like everything goes wrong, but it just takes that one little right thing to get you back on track. And life's beautiful. Life's great. Keep going. Keep trying. Nagamemuk.
Nagamemuk.